there was the lack of vitamins and nutrients and all the acids surrounding us. Yeah, the boss was also feeling bitter more and more often. Yeah, we say the boss in the mind is also sour. Yeah? And who would put up with that over the long term? Yes. And now I hope a little bit you feel these cells. Yes, we have a long time perhaps not so had in our attention. We had the attention to the mobile, to the WhatsApp, to these other things. Yeah. To other persons in the room, I'm sure there are also many helper types. It's also a kind of a type. Yeah. And now when we have a disease, we must come back to the roots. Yeah. And we must think over, can we perhaps more for ourselves? And this is the wish of the tissue cells. Joseph, you are the nerve.
Yeah, I'm the nerve.
I know, you have it.
Yeah, I'm going to give it to you. Why not? No. Okay. Great. So I think it's important for us to transfer and to show our readers that the narrators are all about the cells. I mean, we are all made up out of cells. I mean, we're not just a piece of meat, even though, I mean, a Philly cheesesteak is very delicious. But still, you know, it's much more important to understand our true value and our true reason. And not just in dentistry, but in any position. I mean, I speak now from a dental point of view. I mean, when we look at the jaw, we have all the interconnecting pathways connecting the head to the body. That's roughly 70% of the information has to run through that system. And this is regulated by nerve cells. These are very sensitive structures. This is why you know, they also have a very important role in every disease. Because any pain that we feel, whether it's physical pain, emotional pain, it's a reaction coming from the nerve. This is why it has to be addressed, and it's the most important connective part to the central nervous system and to the brain tissue. And obviously, they are the most common cells which are always upset and which have the highest sensitivity. This is why they also express that they have a long life, you know, suffering under long-term stress.
Yes, and now the so often neglected immune cells. Yeah? And here we mean especially, and these are the most problems which we see every day, because we are more specialized in our center for tricky cases, for unsolved cases, unclear cases. We have especially pay attention and develop a big appreciation towards the so-called lymph cells, or T cells especially. Also the B cells, which produce antibodies, are important. But the T cells, you see it from the text, yeah, we actually have the task of protecting the body from viruses, all viruses, yeah, fungi, parasites, cancer cells, and this you can put additionally in also specific bacteria, like tuberculosis in the past or syphilis in the past, but now the most important cell which is responsible to fight against Borrelia or Babesia or such new infections which we know. Meanwhile, the source primary was described in your country, you know, the Lyme disease. Here we need these cells in a high motivated level, yeah? And we need also the corresponding organs which work together with the cells. For example, the thymus. Have you ever heard the word thymus? It's a little gland here behind, yeah, when you ask the doctors, they have not so much information. Or the spleen, have you ever heard from the spleen? Yeah. Yes, liver is important, alcohol, whiskey and so on, but spleen, oh, you can operate out, you can remove it, you will continue live. But we have also a big amount of lymph nodes. The lymph nodes are, yes, the living areas of these lymph cells. Here we have to take attention, yes, and they describe her situation. Yes, there is a little bit a negative text I will not read. Let's look for a cell for Joseph. We have also a cell in the book. Yeah? Yeah. Joseph, please. Great. This is toothy.
So, yeah.
Zani in German.
Yeah. So the question is, well, why do you want to make a book which focuses on medicine and dentistry? There are only some few, or almost no books all around the world which do that, but we're absolutely convinced, and we're very certain about the fact that anything that goes into your body goes, in most cases, if you behave, through the oral cavity. And from that point of view, anything that you swallow, that you drink, that has contact to the outside world, to bacteria that we carry around with us, will have any effect on us. This is how we came up with the idea, okay, let's bring a chapter about dentistry. So this is super important. I know, I mean, I'm a dentist. I don't like going to dentists, even though my parents are dentists, so this says everything. And most people feel the same.
Family epidemic.
Yeah. But still, we still believe that this is super important to focus on and to educate and to give something back to anyone who reads the book. Especially because it's an open environment, our oral cavity, our oral vicinity. And this is a very strong area where we can trigger unintentionally or unfortunately intentionally field of disturbances, inflammatory triggers, chronic degenerative triggers that circulate into the body because of the rich environment of vessels, of neuronal cells, and so on. Just a quick background.
Yeah. Cancer cells, I think this is too negative we go over, but you see the cancer cells are smiling. Why they smile? It's clear because when the lifestyle is bad, when the nutrition is bad, when you have a lot of toxic things from the environment, then they are very happy, and they also don't need oxygen. They are very happy when you're only sitting in a wheelchair and the car and so on. Yeah? And that's why this problem is so increasing. Yeah? In some states of America, I hope the information is correct, it's the #1 of the reason that you die earlier. Yeah, it's the #1. In many areas it's the #2. And this is not acceptable, and we must go to the roots, back to the roots, and look for the true causative factors. Yes? And that's why the next chapter especially goes in the direction to look for these reasons and to describe these reasons. And here you see our 4-pillar concept of integrative medicine dentistry, and this concept is last but not least also represented in the book in this special style. We will go through in the next minutes about these components, and also the center here has a very similar concept. When you will reach more than conventional medicine, you must go in this direction. And here you see, this is the overview of the content of the book, and this is the 4-pillar concept, so that's why we can present this content together for you.
Great.
Yeah, perhaps Joseph, would you say
That's
something?
Good. I'll say to dental. Yeah, I will say something towards the dental.
Yes, let's look for recognizing causative factors. On one hand side, to have a little bit idea how we think. Yeah, you know that we are a little bit colored and crazy, more colored than crazy, I hope. But the disease, cancer, is only the top of the iceberg, and you know also the problem which the Titanic had over 100 years ago. The iceberg was not so big, but under the waterline, we have, I think, 6/7 in this direction is the relationship of the size. And when we think over diseases, especially unclear things, we must go deep under the waterline. Yes, and the deepest, and here you can reach MS. Here you can reach very fast, wonderful improvements. Is the lowest one. Here you see causative factors: toxins, radiation, yes, mental overexertion, melancholy, lack from trust, anxiety, trouble, humiliation. So it's a mixture of chemical, mixture of emotional, mixture of I would say toxins for the soul. And the following is that we have regulative problems, functional problems, and at the end that the body and the cancer disease, he produces the special symptom of a tumor, produces this. But the basic of all also cancerous diseases is the so-called, we say, general cancer disease. It's not the tumor alone. And this is our thinking. I think it's good to follow. And according to the 3-level concept, we go over. This is only a summary from the book, which possibilities meanwhile we have. All these figures you have, of course, in the book. We make a holistic examination and analysis. This is the beginning. before we treat, we need good information which things we must treat. And we are individual human being, and everybody has other main causative factors. It's not the same. We cannot make, in German we say, Schema F treatment. And this is an example of a toxic exposure. Yeah? Patient suffering from fatigue, from weakness, concentration disorders, not so old. Yeah? And you see here the moderate, the high, and the very high increase of different kinds of toxins. Yeah? Arsenic, you know, in the mid-age, the English king's house, they regulated something with arsenic. And we have now arsenic from rice, from other sources, from cigarettes, from smoking, and so on. Yeah? And a high load from mercury, there are also different sources known. And more we have also endocrine disruptors. I'm sure you heard about. It was often in the press 2-3 years ago. There was a big campaign in this direction, especially in the States. Soft makers, herbicides, pesticides. Also that's why I am no longer in Germany, because the German company Bayer, they bought, yes, the producer of glyphosate from you. Yeah? So your company was happy, but now the Germans are responsible for such poisonous things.
Friends for life.
Absolutely not acceptable. And we have to pay attention for the intestinal situation, I'm sure. Yeah? This is our main restaurant, yeah? Producing wonderful, delicious menus for the cells. And when the restaurant is dirty, is not good working, is full of substances which are disturbing the work of the cooks, then the result we see here. Yeah? On one hand side, we have a reduction of protective bacteria. On another side, too much protein. The protein is the food for rotting bacteria. They produce rotting gases and especially super toxic elements. Which element, for example? Yeah, which smells intensively. When you have a person with big amount of rotting processes, you cannot go to the bathroom after him for 1 hour. You have right, it's ammonia. Ammonia is 1,000 times more toxic than whiskey than alcohol. 1,000 times more. And this bacteria they produce. Yeah? And you cannot only kill the bacteria, because you must look for a better balancing. Yeah? The pH increases, and at the end, this is more for the expert, we develop inflammative processes in the gut, and then so-called leaky gut problems. And then we develop a high amount of allergies. At the end, you can only eat water, but this is not a solution to eat only water. Here we have to look for the background. And here the background is also lifestyle and many other things.
And obviously what people, if you go a slide back, can you do that?
Yes, of course. And it's your wish, Joseph.
No, I mean, sorry to mention.
I will not let you beat me.
You know, we have some bacteria also in our mouth, and obviously if there's a disharmony from the intestinal point of view, you will in all cases find also a disharmony in the oral cavity. So most likely if patients have a leaky gut or have a digestive issue, they will have a strong gum inflammation, or they will have a periodontological issue. And this is how things are interconnected with each other. Okay.
But the next is for you.
It's for me, yeah.
Yes,
this is another easygoing, great diagnostic tool. So we not just diagnose on a physiological level. I mean, we also diagnose on an energetic level. We look at meridians, we look at dermatomes, we look at pathways. And this is a great way just to look at the entire body to see, okay, how is it going? Are there any blockages? Are there any congestions? Is the patient suffering locally, or is it a systemic problem, affecting the head area and affecting the body area? This is just an example from the dental point of view where you have great harmony, and this would be an example where you have disharmony.
The system is also here in the house. Yeah?
Yes.
This I would like to underline. So you have good possibilities also to do many things here.
And we're quite strict in our department, so any patient who comes to us as a first patient in dentistry has to go into the medical department to have diagnostic measures, the most important diagnostic measures. And the same goes vice versa. And then a lot of times when, from the medical point of view, we start treatment, or from the dental point of view, we start our treatments, and we don't see the success that we want to see, so the healing process is very slow or stagnating, then you know, it's important to look at the whole picture. This is a case just where, you know, this patient had severe periodontological issues. This patient had ceramic implants, and these ceramic implants became infected. You can measure everything nowadays with evidence-based testing modules. We do that in addition because people ask for it and because the insurance pays for it in Switzerland, partially. So yeah, it's important because, you know, I mean, we don't want to be like a clinic which is being seen as an unprofessional department. We want to show that functional medicine and dentistry is fun, has its place in our history, and can be done in a very professional and honest way. Also, we can, again, test for any sort of dental metal intoxication with the DMPS. That's a heavy metal mobilization testing device. We can test our patients specifically for any allergy, which might be linked to dental metal, towards even dental resin compound fillings or composite fillings, which are becoming more and more trendy nowadays. We can also test for hypersensitivity reactions or allergies towards titanium implants. And most importantly, as mentioned, when we test the intestinal flora, the gut flora, we also test the oral flora. And here you have those specific pathogenic markers and those specific pathogenic microorganisms which are prone to elicit strong gastric problems, ulcerative colitis, chronic inflammatory bowel disorders, and which have a very high link to cancer formation at the end of the day. That's not my opinion, that's the opinion of evidence-based medicine.
Yes, the next chapter, there are also many informations concerning things which you can optimize self. Yes? And when I have a patient, wonderful is when the patient has also the husband or the wife with. The patient must focus for herself, and the partner can manage the things around. Yeah? For example, he can make pressure for the health insurance to overtake the costs of you, for example, and they can also take care that we have best also environmental situations, especially on our working places and in our rest rooms and the places in which we sleep. Yes, and these are achievements of our modern life. Yeah, we cannot let it. Yeah, it's not so easy to switch off everything. But when you will become healthy and when you will overcome a disease, it's necessary to pay attention also for this. Yeah. And perhaps you are so kind. Yes, you are super kind. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
You have seen another picture before, and I tell you also one more about. In the microscope, we like very much this vital blood analysis. We can see also deposits. Yeah? Here, this is a young lady, 21 years old, suffering from a severe migraine, all kinds of medicine from the conventional pain management doctors. She tried, nothing helped, but she suffered. Yeah, but this is another field. One field, migraine, belongs to pain management. Another field belongs to the gastroenterology. She suffered from a severe constipation. She was only able 1 time per week to go for stool, yeah, the toilet. And the guy, the expert is the gastroenterologist, had the opinion, okay, it's the upper limit of normal, but it can happen. Yeah? Yeah, for me, not acceptable. And the big area which is represented by our intestines, which has also the task to bring out all, we say, I hope it's correct, substances, biological waste. Yeah? When these intestinal surfaces are so blocked and do not work, then we can see it more and more in the lymphatic, and last but not least also in the blood system. And here it's absolutely clear we must find out solution. And now a very important field, also here I need my colleague Josef, I cannot neglect for him, the foci and interference field problem. Some people, they have also problem that the brain and the stress, and perhaps the mother-in-law is the main interfering field. I have 2 mother-in-laws and they are very lovely. But you see on the top the teeth, some other things can be also important. That's why, sorry, once more, Joseph, it's your turn the next.
Yeah, sorry for that. No, anyhow, so it's a delicate topic, and obviously when we focus on diagnosis and what's the underlying cause, we try to make our book a bit more transparent, a bit more easier understanding. So instead of writing 300 pages about physical aspects or biochemical or chemical aspects of dental materials, we decided just to break it down into what the real importance is. So there are always exogenous interference fields, anything that we take into our oral cavity, anything that we work with for foreign substance materials. And on the other hand, you have our super great and perfect teeth, which obviously have to live with anything that comes into the oral cavity. So this is sort of like a picture showing, or trying to give the readers a better overview at what to expect.
And I'm very happy the pictures were made for my oldest daughter.
Yeah.
Actually, she is in California, yeah? But you will come back, I'm sure.
Yeah, it was handmade in Switzerland, Swiss made, right? And then again, it's very important to express the symptoms in form of a diagram or in form of a draft or a picture, because this can bring towards this topic a much better understanding. And this is just an example. There are much more examples in the book where we try to show the readers, the importance of, for example, the heavy light metal problem that you can diagnose, and what kind of symptoms you can expect. Also, we do panoramic scans from diagnostic point of view and CBCT scans, and a lot of times we see patients with metallic restorations. As you can see in this case, around metals you always find a higher amount of bacteria than you would find in those cases where you have ceramic restorations. And this tells us quite a lot of stories. So anything that we eat, independent how great it is, it will react with these kind of substances, and we swallow it and we breathe it in. So it has to go somewhere, and it will stay somewhere. It's probably the most important slide from the dental point of view, because again, a lot of doctors and dentists, they have a conflict towards each other, and unfortunately that's not very beneficial for our patients. And what we have understood and what we try to express in our book is that you can see like the size of a human being, and the tooth has the same importance in our body. That's linked to the fact that a tooth is just like any other organ in our body, which has a rich bundle of innervation, bloods, lymphatics, nervous tissue, and they have a connection to the rest of the body. So this is something that's completely underestimated, and it needs to be addressed, and people have to be educated about that. Also, we like to work with the idea of energy pathways, traditional Chinese medicine, dermatome areas. So every organ is linked to some part in the body, and for many years, a big research group in Germany, in German-speaking countries, between doctors and dentists, have made research about cases of, I have a tooth pain, okay, where else do I have a pain in my body? And interestingly, they came up with a chart with a correlation, which is very well explained in the book, so I don't have to really talk about that, but it shows you the importance of the teeth and the importance of the body.
Yes, we consist only from teeth and brain, no more.
In many cases, yeah.
I have the impression.
Yeah, exactly. In many cases, again, we do a high-quality panoramic scan as a diagnostic tool. We call it a CBCT scan, especially in those cases where a panoramic scan is not good enough in quality. It does not give us the required information. And unfortunately, as it happens, like, as you know, if you have a dead finger, or if you have a gangrenous bowel, or if you have a skin burn 2nd or 3rd degree, none of your medical expertise personnel will tell you to just remove the nerve and leave the dead tissue in. But obviously from dental point of view, they don't really address this sort of like hazardous movement. So we also have to address the topic of root canal treated teeth, how we diagnose it, and what we do about it. Because we are a great living and a very complex organism, and this is driven on blood. This is driven on dynamic tissue and on important pathways which are which are a process which we call alive and not dead. So if something is dead, obviously our body will struggle, and our body sees this as an area of foci, as an area of concern. Our idea was to present one of our patients who we have seen, and who has a very long and a very significant health pathway. I think she's still on her way to be with you, because it's something different if
She comes from Boston. She's a very important person concerning also the book. So let's hope that they reach in time.
Let's see what they do. But she will give you an insight about her pathway, about her background history, which is completely different, and I think which is very important that people can connect and understand that.
That we not only tell you fairy tales. That's why.
Exactly. So we talk about that a bit later.
This is now for me. Enough of people.
Yeah, sure. I'll shut up.
That the people are not so depressed at the end.
Yeah, exactly.
But here you see also wonderful, and also the people here in the center and True Wellness, they have the possibility, how I mentioned. Yes, this is a picture, before it was a movie, of a rich person. Many money rolls. That's why it's good to go in such a center, then you have to pay for something and then you can reduce the money rolls on the bank. This is the strategy, but sorry, it was only a joke. This is a typical situation of too much protein in the blood and of oxidative and of stress from acids. And this we can see very good, and this is the best situation to promote also cancer or chronic inflammations, because the cancer cells, they like the acidity around. This is like a protective capsule which they produce self, and that's why important to measure. And here it's very easy to measure it with a blood drop from the earlobe we do. Here you see an example. Oh, the computer. This is American apple. This is an example of such a blood gas analysis which gives clear information. For example, in this case the pH is too high. It's not the acidity, it's the opposite. This can happen also. And we like very much all the things which you can measure to measure. Yes, it makes a little bit more efforts, and it needs also good laboratory in the institute or outside, but we like this very much. This is not so easy to measure. If you have a reduced self-esteem or so, we can also not measure love in the blood, but we have our indirect measuring instruments, also from energetic medicine, which they have in the wellness and in the True Wellness Center here too. This discontrolled organism we have also to assess. And allow me here, this is basic research, it's more for the thinkers, the illustrative, the others they can switch off. This is an example from research. It shows you a DNA, and by research it was shown when you bring in a cell, in a cell culture of placenta cells, this was made by physiotherapists, this wonderful emotions, thankfulness and love, then you can measure after 10 minutes they made that the length increases, which is good, which is relaxative also for the DNA. And when you put in the cell culture by emotions from therapists, they are experts in this field, such negative emotions, we say emotional toxins, then they can measure significantly, here you see the original figure, the compression of the DNA, and this makes problems at the end of the so-called DNA coding of these processes with messenger RNA and so on, which we learned in biology. So crazy. It's also possible when you study the literature in the emotional side to have an understanding that good words are good and that bad words are bad. And that's why the children, they have the ability, when they hear bad words, one ear in, our ear out. And then they smile. But we as adults, at first we let the negative things in, then we make rotating wheelchairs in the brain, you make assessment, oh, this bad person I would like to kill, and you have enough weapons here, you know. And at the end, you are the victim of such things. Your DNA and so on is not well working.
And interestingly, this is done by an American research group, so
Yeah.
it shows you how
Yeah.
great your country is. You know?
Yeah, you are important. Appreciate it. This is our fundamental therapeutic strategy, the driller, which works in the causative level. Yeah? This is the best. Yeah? When we make the presentation in Texas, then we have to exchange the rain barrel with oil barrel, it's clear. But the principle is the same. Yeah? Yes, and this is also long time known. Yeah, we are not the first, but we have a wonderful illustration. Also made from my daughter. Yeah. This is now Josef in action.
Yeah, sometimes even in our exotic
I'm also
department.
more happy when I'm outside than inside as well. But he makes it so elegant. He helps me to overcome my fear from the dentistry. It's old trauma. Yeah. Purification, release. This is now the logical following, especially when we have a load. Emotional toxins, chemical toxins, other toxins. Yes. And that's why we must do, and perhaps also you have the colon cleansing here, or?
The cleansing.
The cleansing, colon hydro.
Here,
Yeah?
but close, yeah.
Yeah, close, wonderful. That you have a network and partners,
Yes.
very good. Yeah. And this is one way. We have so many other ways also when you sweat a lot, and when the menstruation goes longer, it's not only negative, it's also an idea of the body to bring out substances which you would like to have out. Yeah? And concerning the food, this is totally clear. We have to pay attention for a good eating culture, but we have especially to bring in the foreground, pay attention also for the word living food. Yeah? Living food. Yeah? This is more paper. Yeah? You will not die when you eat this industrial food, but you can also eat paper alone. The package around, my colleague tells very often.
About what we try also to educate our patients, like 6 out of 7 days it's great, and 1 out of 7 days, you know, a cheesesteak is also great. We're also human beings, so.
Yeah. Yes. We should not be neurotic. This is my opinion, and you see I have too much here, sorry. Also, Josef is not super slim.
Yeah, I'm working hard to come to the same level, Ralf.
We cooperate
support
in this
each other,
direction.
yeah, of course.
Yeah, yeah. Oops, sorry. But this is your detox. He likes it very much.
So we have put in different charts again for different type of readers when it's about how you can detox. And this is like a quick overview about the most important detoxing measurements. There can be non-specific, specific based on the body, mind, and soul level. You will find all the detailed information inside the book, but it's important to not just address the physical part, but also the emotional and the part of the soul. We do the same in a way in dentistry, of course. Dentistry is more about, at first, dealing with anxiety, that is true, so this is an important part, but we also have to take care of dental foci. A lot of times we see patients, unfortunately, with a high heavy metal load coming from dental metals. And it's super important to protect our patients, to protect our staffing, to protect the dentist. And I'm very fortunate, or we're very, very fortunate in our clinic to be able to have a very good pre and after care. So this brings along the best preparation for our patients and the best outcome for our patients when it's about detoxing and cell regeneration. And there's a big list and a big armada about what you can do from oral supplements, what you can do from an intravenous point of view, systemic point of view. And this is a great concept that I'm very fortunate to be able to live, because in a standardized clinic it would be just simply not possible to work this way. And a lot of our patients are also critical. They say, okay, let's do it. This is my last hope. I've tried everything else in my life. And after a couple of months, they come back and ask, okay, did it work or did it not work? I feel better, but sometimes I still have problems with my digestion. I still have problems with my lungs, with my mucus. And then it's very simple to do a very easy test, which is not too expensive, just to see how the level, for example, in this case of heavy metals, sit in the body. So the red block or the red line will show you the measurements and the high toxic measurements, in this case, for example, of cobalt and arsenic.
Mercury.
Yeah, and mercury as well. And this is a great case where you can show, okay, if you work together, if you're a great team and also the patient is part of the team, please don't forget, then you can achieve a great outcome. And the yellow line, you know, reflects the results after 3 to 6 months, depending on the case.
Yes, and 2 weeks ago she left us. We had, for example, a very, very famous American lawyer in our hands, suffering also from Lyme disease, and she belongs to the board of the American Lyme Disease Society. And yes, within 3 weeks, a complete change of her life. Yeah? Within 3 weeks, it needs not so long when you have a perfect also concept, and you can look for Facebook or Instagram for Lyme Challenge from the last days. There's also a movie in, and the main problem, sorry, it was Josef with his field.
Yeah.
Perhaps you can report shortly.
I think, I mean, obviously she had her thoughts about, shall I go to dentist or not? So we talked quite a lot, and then she decided, okay, I mean, she could come to the States and have it here, but there seems to be something genuine about us, so we went ahead, and fortunately we did, because she had 20 different crowns, different alloys, and under the crowns she had amalgam. She had also root canal treated teeth, and she had massive headaches and migraines, which is understandable. And just the day after, obviously, when you remove that size of a battery, when you remove different alloys which have a very strong galvanic potential between each other, you can achieve great changes.
Yes, and 2 days later I was totally delighted. Yes, she came with 12 different medications, 2 antibiotics, 1 antimycotic, 1 antiparasitic remedy, some other chemistry. And after his treatment 2 days later, nothing. She wasn't necessary to continue. She got also some good healing plans. We will see later some pictures. And such little wonders can happen when we come back to the nature that we belong together, medicine and dentistry. And the dentistry, this is super important on a high level, not only a little bit. Yeah? This is important. And now I think we must also, when we are clean, regenerate. Sometimes it's not necessary, because spontaneously the body feels much more lighter, much more better. He can regenerate self. And all the tissues, more or less, the nerve system is not so easy, can regenerate and rejuvenate. But to push this, we have good instruments too. And many of the things we have also available in the States. Let's look for the following slides. Yes, of course, nutrition. I think here we can go over, you know everything about it. Yeah? That we are a little bit jealous. You have so big refrigerators. And also the size of the bed is much more than in Europe. And sometimes when we have Americans, they must change the hotel or the guest house because the beds are too small. Sorry, but inside we should have only healthy things. This is clear. Yeah, and you have meanwhile good palette of things. It's only necessary to use and to support also these farmers which are producing these things to make America great again, and the people that they can survive and are not overtaken by the Mexicans. But I hope there are no Mexicans. They have a good place in Mexico, and you should have here people which are alive.
Cellular performance is super important.
Yeah. Yes, we have the organopeptides. Before I discussed with a person, do you use also stem cells? Sorry, till now also in Europe, stem cell therapy is only allowed for research in some centers, not so much. But we have, do you know the American guy which got the Nobel Prize for it? The background of the organopeptide of the cell peptide therapy, 1999, Professor?
Was it Dr. Berninsky?
No, from New York.
Oh, no.
Primary from Germany, but everything comes from Germany, which is good, you know. But he worked since the 60s in New York, I think Cornell University, Professor Blobel. Blobel got Nobel Prize Physiology and Medicine 1999. The background homing effect, it's also described in the book, is our background for this pushing of the organ and of the immune functions. Mistletoe, I think you know a little bit, this parasite on the tree. But the parasite is not so terrible, he kills not the tree. He uses only something. And this is like a general. He instructs the immune cells, yes, we can, yeah, another slogan, you have good presidents with good slogans. And this is a very good instrument for immune stimulation. With the mistletoe infusion, we can also induce fever. Fever, we will see in the next slides, is also super, super important.
Can I quickly ask something?
Yeah, why not?
Okay, thanks.
But only positive things, Joseph.
I will, I promise. I mean, what we see when we try to use natural remedies. And I mean, we're in a great country. And my question is, which is the most common plant remedy or plant substance that you use in the age between 16 and 25? What?
No.
What? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I don't know why no one's thought about also working with mistletoe in those age groups, because I mean, you're in college, you have a lot of doors, you have a lot of, you can share much more love and friction. Okay. Anyhow,
Continue, please.
now you can do that.
Yes, on the left side you see the piranha medicine. These are enzymes. We can use digestive enzymes. We can enzymes from plants, like from the pineapple, for example, papaya, mango. And these enzymes are very good against swellings, against also blockages in the lymphatic flow, and also after injury you can reach a lot. It's not necessary to use primary chemistry. On the right hand side, yeah, you see this person here. One example is curcuma. We have also many other plants which were shown by research that they can also inhibit cancer growth, that they can reduce inflammations and other things. I think, for example, also for one gift which got Jesus Christ, which is super good for us. It's not gold, gold is not a plant. Frankincense, yes, you are right. A very good anti-rheumatic plant. Yeah. And these things we can use, and we have the possibility also to use something as an infusion. Infusion for us brings faster the effects which we wish. Yeah. And at next, everything is more described in the book. Let's do it. So, yeah.
Here we go.
Yes, here we have, of course, oxygen, ozone. In many other American centers, meanwhile, it's available. Ozone, it contains from 3 oxygen atoms, brings energy in the periphery, and it's also good acting against viruses, for example. Yeah, you can reduce the inflammatory load. And this procaine here, we are very proud. Also, we developed 20 years ago the procaine infusion, not only the injection. Our mosquito treatment, we will see later, which we like very much, is we say it's a royal substance, yeah, like a king, because the substance has so many features which we need. It's unbelievable, yeah. And we can inject, we can swallow, we can make infusions from it. And this is the main thing which we like, and also some persons here in the center, they do in this direction work. This is the so-called advanced neurotherapy. It means, on the next slide you can see that we use physiological pathways of the nerves, yes, and segmental oriented. We can influence also inner organs, we can also reduce pain. When we bring the substance which has also anesthetic and pain-killing effects in the area of interest. It's super logical. Yes? When you have a pain only here on the top of your head, and when you swallow ibuprofen, for example, yeah? At first it goes in the stomach, then a little bit will be absorbed, then it goes first pass through the liver starts to degrade your ibuprofen, and then it is, at next it will be diluted from the water which we have in the body. 70% we exist from water. And at the end, only a little part of the ibuprofen comes to the point of the hand. It's much more better to use a little syringe. You see my hand when I was younger. And I give a little chup, a little mosquito only on the place, and immediately it will disappear. It's super logical. Yeah? It's also not painful for me when I do. We like very much. Yeah. And also this is Joseph, he likes it also.
Yeah.
But this is clear, he likes pain.
I mean, we always tell our patients you can pick what kind of mosquito you want to have. You know, Argentinian, Brazilian. I would always go with my Greek goddess mosquito, Ralf. So that's the real deal. That's the real deal.
Okay, hypothermia and fever. I mentioned, yeah. Here you see the typical situation like winter time. So the immune cells feel. And in your near in Boston, a researcher group made research in vivo, not in a little glass, in vivo. They made only here research which temperature is the best for the immune activity of these lymph cells. It was the temperature in Celsius scale 39.2. It's, I would say, around 103 Fahrenheit, more or less. Yes, in this range we have the highest spontaneous natural killer activity and cytotoxic activity of the immune cells. Yeah? And very often the people are proud, oh, I was so long so healthy, since 30 years I had no fever. No, this is not such a good sign for health. Yes. Yeah, you know, for the Olympic sporters and so, before they start to make a run or so, they must warm up. And this warming up you have every 1-2 years is not so bad. That's why we also against, when you feel quite good, when you have fever, you use not primary paracetamol or aspirin. With the increase of the temperature, we can make it active and passive, Joseph.
Yeah.
Then we have the natural, normal, hyper powerful situation. You see the face of the cancer cells, because many cancerous diseases are very sensitive to higher temperature. They look not so happy, yeah, because now they have the feeling, oh, they will kill me, yeah, and we have to. Yes, and in the next you see examples. We can use local applications. This is the, we say, the Swiss barbecue, but it comes from a famous German producer. It's not only for pretty women. This is only a picture to motivate us. We reach within half an hour an increase in the body core till this area which we need. Yes, and this is a wonderful instrument, and this is also. We must say thank you, sorry, but on another side, I cannot be delighted from the idea. The American FDA till now gave no permissions that you have such devices here. Yes, and we cannot understand. The scientific literature is full of studies in many countries. For example, Japan, it's a classic normal treatment. Or when you see here the results by the use of fever and hypothermia, you see the red and the blue line or bar. Red means the combination with hypothermia, and blue is the classic chemo or classic treatment of cancer. And here, yes, we have the apple. We have Steve Jobs and the history with his pancreatic cancer. Yeah, we wrote him also a message, but he has never answered. But the book, meanwhile, we gave to Tim Cook, yeah, with a letter of us. I hope he was able to read. You can see on our Instagram there's a photo. 4 weeks ago I had been, yeah, he cannot accept the story, sorry. But you have totally right, yeah, we must also come to the end, but we reach meanwhile chapter 6, we have only 8. And for fever therapy especially, this was Professor Jarek from Vienna, against syphilis, neurosyphilis. It was a big problem 100 years ago. It got also the Nobel Prize in medicine. And we used this method in combination with the barbecue to make it more easy for you. And this is a part of our secret, that for us chronic infections, Lyme disease and so on are not a problem. Yeah.
Shy?
So you see, only medical things we do. Yeah, not so much ours, or yes. But this is also important for Joseph. That's why I allow him. If you are not depressive, to say something.
Impressive, why would it be?
Yeah, because I'm only.
I think everything is good.
Okay, thank you.
Everything is good.
Good. It's super important that we are in balance.
Yeah, where there's love, there's friction, you know. Anyway, but I mean, when we speak about regeneration or rejuvenation of our body, we can do great things. I mean, the very important part is the immune stimulation, immune modulation that we have shown you on the plant basis with mistletoe or with hypothermia. But on the other hand, you can do a lot of great things just by looking at the physiological and biochemical levels. So these are processes which are run by cell membranes, by enzymes, and these are all depending on vitamins, minerals, and trace elements. This is what we like to call legal doping. Okay, so you use all the necessary substances and structures to really get into the cell and to work at the core, to regenerate. Same goes for the balance of our pH household. So when we look after the regeneration of our milieu, our terrain factors, which is very dependent on the base excess, on bicarbonate loading and hydrogen peroxide loading, it's super important to know when to make your environment more acidic or when to make your environment more alkaline. Right, Ralf? So
yes,
I mean,
absolutely.
but when you have the situation of the intestinal severe dysbiosis, which means that you're rich in an alkaline environment, obviously it would be futile to give that patient alkaline baths or to give that patient massive alkaline amount of supplements, because that's just going to worsen the situation. The same goes for patients who have cancer. I mean, if you give the patient a lot of acidic substances like sauerkraut or kimchi and all these kind of things to really bring in a lot of vitamin C, I mean, it's great, but it's still a very sour environment. So this is why you have to also be aware and pay a lot of respect and attention to the pH level, what we also like to call the milieu or the pH terrain.
Yep.
And as mentioned, you know, we like to use natural remedies whenever possible. Also, we are realistic. There are cases where you cannot do it. I mean, we showed you one case where you combine conventional with biological medicine in regards to hypothermia and chemotherapy. And this is just an example to show you that this is a really, really broad spectrum of appliances. And behind this there is a massive knowledge and a massive literature going back to the First World War or even longer. I mean,
yeah.
So
yes, we appreciate the natural remedies. We have so many, and beside us, the big boss created also all instruments which we need that we improve and that we stabilize our health. Yes.
great.
And also we can use different kinds of homeopathy and homotoxical remedies. Many things are meanwhile also available here. I have seen also in the center here, wonderful. And please support the people which practice this. They must grow and grow. Yes. This is an example. We will not go into detail. A lady suffering from pancreas cancer. Yeah. And she had the luck to get healthy within some months. It was not a long time, and the main component, this was my opinion, because she had not so the money to make too much others, was a very great reaction towards the best suitable homeopathic remedy. In this case it was phosphorus. And also the program comes from California, Mac Repertory. Yeah. So we need your things, and we are very happy to do. And so you have everything here. It's only necessary a brainwashing of your doctors and medical professionals to use it more. Yes, the healing plants. There are also plants from America, from North America. I'm sure you know this. Yes, it's a plant to support hormonal functions. Josef is missing his beloved cannabis, sorry.
And the mistletoe, of course.
That's why I have this corner. When you would like, you can put in.
Yeah, well, we have to stay professional here, right?
Yeah.
And mistletoe, don't forget.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, but this is wonderful, and we can also support the hormonal and the glandular functions with natural sources. The yams root is a multi-maker you can do with little chemical procedures, manufacturing. You can produce bioidentical testosterone, DHEA, progesterone, and so on, which we need quite often to keep a long time young and healthy. Yeah. This is also perhaps idea that why you are here.
And the great thing about, sorry?
No,
Okay.
just reading them.
Okay. And the great thing about bioidentical hormone therapy, and we have specialists at our clinic, is that compared to conventional hormone therapy, you do not block the reactivation of the important cell functions. So, I mean, if you take, for an autoimmune disorder, for example, cortisone, this can completely block your adrenal function, and then you can get a disease. Yeah, you can get symptoms of a well, what's the name of cortisone? That's the symptom.
Yes. Yes, the Cushing
Yeah, the
syndrome,
Cushing
for
syndrome,
example,
for example.
the full moon phase and such things.
But when you work with the bioidentical hormones, you do not intervene this negative feedback loop. So once the patient is off the bioidentical hormone, the patient will not, in this case, develop a Cushing syndrome.
Yes, it's possible.
And sometimes, again, they also end up in our dental department. And as said, we love, taking care of our patients. We love the concept of whole body medicine, and we have so many important organs, muscles, ligaments, and elements in our body which are all connected to each other. And one great approach that we pick is the approach that our jaw is a unity and a part of the human posture, is a part of the human body. Because with all the ligaments, all the muscles, and all the fibers, you have a constant connection into the spine, into the back, down to the pelvic area. This is why when we treat in a stepwise approach. So we rehabilitate our bite, or we rehabilitate a long-term restoration only in a stepwise approach, because it needs time to find the right balance for each patient. Sometimes this requires to have fixed teeth, and a lot of times you have to remove, unfortunately, your natural teeth, because they're either root canal treated or because they're infected. And then we obviously want to work with an artificial root, and in this case you can always pick a titanium implant, or you can pick a zirconium dioxide implant. And from our perspective, both materials are foreign bodies, and depending on how the patients do, how the patients behave, these can bring a lot of advantages or disadvantages with each other. So what we just want to really quickly address is that, I mean, if you decide to have fixed teeth, which is important for the mandibular posture and for the body posture, just make sure that you go with a material which is high in quality, which is pure, and which has specific pre-requirements. And those requirements should be a great strength in the material, a great design, which is needed for ceramics, so no sharp edges, for example, compared to titanium. The surface needs to be perfect. It needs to be immunologically inactive, and it needs to have a good long-term outcome from the prosthetic point of view. So also in this field, there is a lot of influx into America about how great it is and how much benefit we can do with ceramic implants. At the end of the day, it's a foreign body. So just be aware of it. If you follow specific guidelines, stepwise approaches, then also with zirconium dioxide implants, you can achieve great results just as with titanium implants. A lot of times when a tooth surface is missing, and you have to replace that part, you can do it with a filling, or if the defect size is too big, then you can do it with an indirect restoration or a material that we like to call ceramic. And these are pictures before and after. And once again, also a lot of times when we correct mandibular posture, or when we correct the body's posture, the craniomandibular system, we have to work with specific splints. And obviously when you adjust the jaw position, you also have to bring the teeth into the new position so that you can hold that position. And that, in this case, we did it with a orthodontic appliance, or you can do it with crowns or with veneers. But you find much more about this in our book.
Now we come in
Yes.
the direction of the end.
You want to say
super
something about
happy that you are awake despite of this overload of crazy information.
Do you want to say something about Birgit and Heike? I mean, we're a great team, so it's not just two of us. You want to say
the
something?
left hand, yeah, perhaps you can do.
Oh yeah, I mean, we have two great colleagues, and they're both experts in biological medicine. Some are specialized in the field of pediatrics, the other ones in family medicine, bioidentical hormones. And as we know, aesthetics and smile, this is very important, not just for the body appearance, but also for the soul. And from this point of view, you know, a lot of patients ask us, could we do some form of aesthetic therapies, aesthetic medicines for them? And so our two lovely colleagues, they're specialized in aesthetic medicines as well, meanwhile, and they work a lot with autologous substances. Those are substances which are from your own body, so it's not a foreign object, it's not Botox, it's not hyaluronic acid, and so on. So also on that level, they do quite a lot of work to support the healthy regeneration.
But at first it's important that the body inside is clean.
Yeah.
Brightness comes from inside, and that's why we need a preparation phase before we do such a kind of fine-tuning to see also that the person is younger and happy. Harmonization and a high level of awareness, and here are many people which have this high level, and it should be like a positive epidemic for America to say to all the others to change a lot, because it's necessary. Not only because of the problem with the Mexicans, and don't forget it. It was only a little bit an instrument to give push in the room, but when we pay here attention, then at the end it's round, yeah, and we say then it's in a good balance. And here the question is which is the most important. Our opinion is it's the slogan "Say yes to life." That's why the slogan is not new. We will only underline how important is it. Yeah, it's not so good to say, "Oh, I have Lyme disease, I say yes to the bacteria, I say yes to the toxins." I have sometimes the impression that people, they like collecting negative things. Yeah? They like to collecting also negative news. We must switch. Yeah? We must make like a paradigm change, and should focus for the life, should focus for the wonder of life, should focus for this wonder of creation which we represent, and everybody is individual. And so it means, and we made a little bit today evening, sorry, yeah, but it was your decision to be here. It means biological brainwashing. Yeah, like when you have the fight, when the electing phases.
Yeah, so also again, you know, smile is very important from this point of view. A lot of patients feel that that's their expression of their inner soul, their inner joy. And obviously on that level, you know, when you combine health and happiness, so parts of the physical level and the emotional level, you can have a much stronger foundation, a much stronger pillar carrying you, carrying the body. Oh yeah, that's me. Sorry. That's mine. Oh no, I have it with me. Okay. Yeah, so I mean,
you would like to have both.
No. Sorry. I was too over excited about this slide, you know, because I mean, you know, I'm young and I've seen some parts of the world, and I always love to come to America, and I always love to see, you know, the great things in America, and this is why I want to give you something back about why America is so great.
You must now fix on your places.
Yeah. And
I'm so proud about this slide.
Yeah, I mean, you know, so when you sometimes you have to detox, you have to regenerate, but I think the Americans are the only nation in the world who have the potentials to become. Okay? All right. Be proud. Yeah. So be proud about being American. That's what I want to say.
We're trying.
Right. Just as a
yes, this is more conservative. It comes more from my side. Yes, that we should relax the leash. You can do it on your Caribbean beaches, Florida, and so on. But you can do it also in other places. When I look from my window, you see in the next slide, it's from last week. It's true, and you see the view outside from my window in the mountains and in this area in which we live. And that's why sometimes when people come to us, they make a connection with holiday, and this we can only recommend. And this is also an idea or alternative idea, of course. Joseph, yes?
Yes.
This backpack we must make empty, and the best is to get rid of inner waste, it's clear. And have you some more?
Yeah.
Oh, the family. Have you any ideas?
I mean,
he's expecting his first baby.
Oh yeah.
But he's not pregnant. his wife. That's why I roll the ball to you.
No, I mean, I think it's important to understand the role of the family and the burden that comes with the family. I mean, from this point of view, we'll be honest about it. I mean, we have psychologists and psychokinesiologists with us in our clinic who try to break down the very important aspect of emotional burden and emotional load. And this is in conventional medicine, it's a taboo topic to talk about. But at the end of the day, we're all human beings, and we all start from a point. So this is why also we pay a lot of attention, and this is why we have pediatricians, we have specialists who also look after elderly people. So we try to bring family together and also treat the entire family. Not to underestimate.
Yes, and we should reach advanced levels. Yeah, like we have also meanwhile for this Apple available. Yeah, he's not a single lab. When we connect with Wi-Fi, then we can connect him with the whole world. And that's why these reconnections, we say also, to your own. Yeah, we are not no preachers. We make no special religions in our concept in our house. You should reconnect to your trust belief concept, which is good for you. And when you click, you can see it also. It's an example here, Josef.
And I mean, the most interesting thing that we see, with our patients who come to us and who are very successful business people all around the world, if you just take them and we ask them, what's the thing that you regret the most? Most people will say, I lived my life, but I didn't enjoy myself. Mm-hmm. And this is why, again, we pay an important, special attention towards this field and this area.
And this, I think, is not so surprisingly for you. We have at the end the opinion love is the most important. Yeah? And when we love, as doctors, as dentists, it's also possible. Patients, cells, and so on. And that's why very often the patients must tolerate. I like to hug them, that they feel more sure, more better, or what you want. This is so important. And in the book there is a wonderful German poem. It was of course translated, which describes all situations in our life when we have a missing of love. Yeah? And then this, I think, is at the end also the crown of the knowledge. And when you look in the Bible, you know also such things. Yes, how important love is, and that's why it must be also in this book at the end, the last chapter, chapter 9. And yes, before we finish, but the question is if the person is meanwhile here. Mary Beth, have you seen? No, till now not. So, but we are not sure. But when with the next slide, we would like to tell you our especially thing for some persons.
We don't take it, granted that we can be here, and we know how much work is put into, organizing such an event for everybody involved in it. So our greatest gratitude and appreciation goes to the Marion Institute with Jane and Cheryl, who come around and who are like,
here.
Our American bodyguards, CSI, FBI,
they
protecting us,
to tolerate
sure
us.
that we
4 days. Yeah. Crazy.
Even when we have crazy ideas with Philly cheesesteak, they still allow us to even go there. So. And obviously, a big thank to Jill and Michael, who are the main reason why we were able to come here. I mean, they sponsor the event, they help us to bring the world.
Patients of us, and we are very. Best time. And now here we have.
And also,
you see here a person with her husband, and she is responsible, but she will tell you the story.
A small story, no, it's like.
Small,
sorry.
not 1 hour.
That was a whirlwind trip. Everything was delayed. Nice to see you guys.
Thank you for making it.
Oh well, I did
You
that.
have to use a helicopter next time.
So I just traveled in from Boston, and the planes were delayed for hours, and then we landed in Philadelphia, and they couldn't get the jet bridge for about another half hour. My son said, "Mom, it's not meant to be." I'm like, "The hell it isn't." inviting me. Thank you for being willing to hear my story. I think it will help you understand just how profound these doctors are. It was about 3 years ago when I really started getting very ill. And it started by getting allergic to everything. And so I thought, oh, it's hormonal, I'll go through changes.
I know we need it.
And so I started,
Lights off.
I started backing away from everything that I was allergic to the point where I was down to 4 foods, and I was 40 pounds less than I weigh right now. Yikes. So we lived between Boston and Naples, Florida, and I was very sick, 85 pounds, and I said, you know what, to my husband, I've got to go to the hospital, and I was being monitored, and they just couldn't figure anything out. And he said, we just have to get you to Naples Community Hospital. I'm like, yeah, I think this is probably my last chance at living. Let's get to Boston. Mass General, the best hospital in the world. So we met flight, and I get to Boston. And they admit me, and they say, okay, your metabolic rate is through the roof. You're very, you're very compromised, and you're very sick. Okay, check the box. And then they start running a lot of labs and tests. And they say,